Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Support for this podcast comes from CDTA, The Eagle, a Times Union podcast driven by CDTA. We are back with another midsummer episode of The Eagle, a Times Union podcast. I'm Jessica Marshall. As we mentioned in previous episodes over this summer, the reason The Eagle has taken a few weeks off here and there is because we've been hard at work on a new limited series podcast. It's called Catastrophic Failure. Times Union reporter Larry Rulison and I have spent the last year taking a deep dive into the story of the Schoharie limo crash that killed 20 people on October 6, 2018. We've produced 10 episodes that delve into what led to the crash, the investigation, the trial of Nauman Hussein, and how something like this tragedy can be prevented in the future. 4 of those 10 episodes are now live, and you can listen to them at timesunion.com, via the Times Union mobile app, or wherever you normally get your podcasts. New episodes every Tuesday. The reason that we're back for another Eagle episode now is not a happy one. The Capital Region lost one of its most notable and impactful civil rights advocates this past week. Alice Green died in Albany suddenly at 84. Green was a teacher, a social worker, the former legislative director for the New York Civil Liberties Union, and the founder of the Center for Law and Justice. For decades, she's been a powerful voice for social justice and prison reform in New York State. In 2021, Green took part in a Times Union video series called Lift Every Voice. Green sat down with filmmaker Jamel Mosley to talk about her life. We're going to play a portion of that interview here on The Eagle now. Green tells the story of a summer job that she once quit for a very good reason.
When I was about 15 years old, I got a job along with a white friend of mine, my neighbor. We decided to take a job so we could buy our clothing and books for the coming year. And we lived next door to each other, so we were very close friends. And we were just so excited that it was going to be our first job. It was a restaurant and motel and restaurant, and the owners were from the South. The owner, her name was Mrs. Claudis, I'll never forget. She took my friend, whose name was Myrtle, and showed her where she would be living. She would be living in the family's compound, in a nice room. We expressed, our desire to room together. So I thought she was going to show me to my room. She did. However, we had to go outdoors and to the backyard where they had a large barn. And she took me into the barn, and it had a stair away, and she took me up there and said, "This is where you will live." I was so devastated, I didn't know what to do. I knew that my mother wanted me to stay there, and earn money, so because we were in poverty, to stay there and work for the summer. So I was really torn about what to do, because I went there and to my bed. They did provide a bed. And the next thing I remember at night was seeing something flying around, and I discovered that the room was infested with bats, and I was scared to death. Somehow I made it through the night. The other workers worked at night, so I was alone in this barn with bats. So I went to the main building, and I talked to the owner, and I said to her that you are segregating black people, and I will not do this. And she looked at me and she says, well, you're fired. And at 15, I looked back at her and I said, well, you're too late because I already quit. And I was 40 miles from my home, but my girlfriend, thankfully, said, well, I quit too. And we left to go home. We had to hitchhike. I left that job, but I left with my pride and respect. And I never forgot that. And so I demand that from everybody. I don't care who they are. And I think that helped me in all the work that I do.
Alice Green was 84 years old. Visit timesunion.com to read more about her life and legacy and to see the video from Lift Every Voice. That's it for now. We'll be back, though, with more episodes of The Eagle next month. Until then, enjoy the rest of your summer. The Eagle is a production of the Times-Union. It's produced and edited by myself, Jessica Marshall, with help from the Times-Union digital team and the newsroom. Our music is Flyin' by Top Floor. Do you have questions about any of our podcasts here at the Times-Union? Send us a message at podcast@timesunion.com. That's podcast@timesunion.com. Support for this podcast comes from CDTA, The Eagle, a Times-Union podcast driven by CDTA.